Welcome back to Beyond the Plot podcast. In today's episode, we're joined by American romance author Libby Tanner. She shares her biggest breakthrough that came from the most unexpected moment, reconnecting with her ex, something nobody wants to do. She also shares her journey from a practical PR career to publishing her debut rom-com at 40. Nothing short of inspiring. And Libby reveals the exact steps that made that happen. If you've ever felt it's too late or too complicated to chase your passion, this episode is your blueprint for turning dreams into reality, even if you've had to wait decades for your moment. Libby shares how a 6-year delay turned into her biggest success, the foolproof, unconventional advice that helped her navigate rejection and find her perfect publisher. She breaks down her step-by-step process from crafting irresistible query letters to the surprising power of writing a new project while waiting for feedback. Plus, she reveals why her background in journalism and PR gave her a hidden edge. You'll want to listen to this episode whether it's for the X story, selling her book to Versace, hearing her publication journey, or about her new book, Better Than Versace. So sit back, listen to Libby's story, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button now so you don't miss any future episodes. Enjoy! Hello, Libby. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Good. Well, we are very thankful for you being a guest. So before we kind of get into your story behind the story, share a little bit about yourself. Who is Libby Tanner?
Okay. Well, I am a rom-com writer and I love happy endings. I write the kind of books that you read in the bathtub while eating cookies right out of the box. I am not writing books that are going to emotionally wreck you. I'm going to write books that make you feel fantastic and excited and happy to be in love or excited to find love in your life. Those are the kind of books that I love reading, and those are the kind of books that I love writing.
Oh, I love that. And how long have you been published for? So when did your first novel come out into the world?
So my debut novel came out in August of 2025.
Wow.
So it's been less than a year.
Yeah. And how's it felt for you having your debut out in the world? Because it's something that every writer aspires to have, right? And you've made that leap and been extremely successful. So how did that feel for you putting it out there?
Okay, I'm not going to be coy. It feels fantastic. All of the, hype and dream and expectations that you have of, oh my gosh, when I get my book out there, it exceeded all of it. Yeah. And you just have these surreal moments of when you see somebody reading your book. I checked my book out at the public library and that was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
So really the last 18 months has just been an incredible journey. I mean, not all smooth sailing. There are definitely some rough spots in there, but for the most part, really exciting and really lived up to all of my expectations that I had from a very young age of wanting to publish a book.
Yeah. So let's take it back, right? Because I always love to go back to the start. I think hearing people's journeys is just phenomenal and it definitely inspires those aspiring or emerging writers out there. What did that look like for you? Because you mentioned then you had dreamt about this day for so long. So had you always had this dream? Had you always wanted to write?
Yes, I have always wanted to be a writer. Since I was using crayons for my stories, I have always loved telling stories. And I actually have a whole folder of stories I wrote when I was 5 and 10 and 16. I've always wanted to be a writer. And when I found out that you could have that as a job, it's like, oh my gosh, yes. Why would you do anything else? Like, why would you ever be a car mechanic when you can write stories for a living? And that was always my dream. And then something terrible happened, Lisa. And I don't know exactly how, but you hit college. And unfortunately, I'm a very practical sort of person. So I didn't study creative writing. And I was like, I need a major and a job that can pay off these student loans. And so I studied journalism because that felt close to writing, and then moved into PR and public relations. And I had wonderful job opportunities in PR. I love it. But my heart has always wanted to write and be an author. It's a little bit sad to me that it took me to 40 years old to get to live that dream. So for people out there who are thinking about writing a novel or in the middle of a novel or have these aspirations to be an author, I would say do it now. Don't wait, because you finish college and then you get married and you have kids and I've got 4 of them and they're wonderful and I wouldn't trade them for the world. But it's, a decade and a half of diapers and nap time and just being
Hectic.
emotionally drained. Yes. Yes. So it has taken me till 40 years old to see my debut novel in the world. I wish I would have done it 20 years ago, but this is the path my journey took.
Yeah, and yeah, children, beautiful chaos, they always say, right?
They
And
are.
yeah, 4. I've got 3, but 4. You're outstanding doing that and working and being a author as well. So commending you for that. In terms of, because you said that you've still got to pay the bills, right? And even when you become an author, there's many authors out there who are still working, whether that's full-time or part-time, and their novels as well. How do you feel that your career, your professional career, as in public relations, has helped you in that way, or journalism has helped you to become maybe a better author than where you were before? Do you feel it has played a part in where you are now with your writing?
I do. In a lot of ways, I feel very comfortable public speaking. So doing events and doing fun podcasts like this, it's like, yes, sign me up. I'd love to talk about writing. I'd love to talk about my books. I feel very comfortable doing presentations and speaking in public. I had hoped that my background in PR would help a little bit more with the book marketing. It did not. Lisa, I'm a marketing mess. I didn't have an Instagram account until my publisher made me get one.
Oh, wow.
And so, yes. And so I was trying to figure out Instagram. I don't know the difference between a post and a story and a reel. And then I'm also trying to, find an audience. So the PR background, which I thought might help me a little bit in marketing, not at all. Not at all. But it has prepared me for the in-person events, which are what I really love. I love doing signings. I love doing panels. I love doing book conventions. And that's been really fun.
Oh, that's brilliant. And I feel like, every step of your life takes you on that journey to where you are now, right? So I always look back at what people have done and think you were supposed to do that because it's made you where you are right now. Whether you thought that at the time when you were doing different components in your life and thought, why am I doing this? I just want to be a writer or an author. But in terms of your actual road to publication then, so what did that look like for you? So you got your publisher in 2024, but your first novel came out, I think, 2025, and that was Better Than Gelato. And you got a literary agent as well. So just explain a bit about how or what that looked like for you.
So this is actually a really easy question for me because I discovered a resource that absolutely has proved to be a game changer for me. And I credit this 100% for helping me land a literary agent and getting a publishing deal. And I do not work for these people. I get like zero money for promoting them, but they're so good. I want to tell other authors about them. And the program is called the Writing Mastery Academy. And it is led by Jessica Brody. And I stumbled onto it. It was like, if you sign up to be a member, then you can watch this workshop that she does. And it was about, I think the one that sucked me in was about the complete revision, how to revise your novel. Because I'd written my novel. I knew it was kind of a mess. I knew it was a little bit too long and it needed a lot of work, but I didn't know what to do. Because again, I didn't study creative writing. I should have. But in any case, I had this story I loved and I was passionate about. I knew it needed work. And then she had this workshop she was doing. And I think it was at the time, I think maybe the price has gone up a little bit, but it was like $15 a month to join this. And I was like, well, I'm just going to join. I'm going to watch this thing and then I'm going to quit. And that's worth $15 to me. Well, that was 3 years ago. And I am still a happy dues paying member because I have gotten so much out of this program. The Writing Mastery has got all of these different courses that you can take, like Foundations of Fiction and revising your novel and creating dynamic characters. The course that really helped me the most was one she has called How to Sell Your Novel to a Major Publisher. And she's got a whole course on self-publishing as well. But this one was how to sell your novel to a major publisher. And I took that course and she just step by step lays out the whole process. There's like a whole roadmap for you to follow. And I just followed the steps. So querying agents is the worst. And I think every author who's done it knows how discouraging that process is. And it really is. But Jessica's program takes as much pain and misery out of it as you can. And so it's intense. I mean, there are spreadsheets, it's color coded, but it really worked for me. I developed a list of about 40 agents that I
Wow.
thought would be a really good fit for my book. And I researched them and I knew what they liked and their favorite color and their home address. No, that's stalking. I didn't do that, but I learned a lot about them. And then I put them in this spreadsheet, and then I divided them like, these are my first tiers, these are my second tiers, these are my third tiers. And then I drafted 2 different query letters. The program was so helpful for understanding exactly what a query letter is and what it isn't, and how to catch their attention right away and give them the information they need so they don't have to search for it. So I did 2 different query letters, and I did A/B testing to see which ones got better results. And then I would hear back from the agents. And if one wasn't doing well, I would tweak the query letter and send it out again. I would pitch 10 agents and then wait a month, and then pitch 10 agents and wait a month. And I think about 3 months in is I got a response from an agent that wanted the full manuscript. And even after she got the manuscript, then I followed up with her. Crickets, nothing, didn't hear anything. And then followed up again and still didn't hear anything. And it was so funny because for my full-time job, we were doing a webinar for public relations people. And we're talking about how to work with journalists and media. If you've got a great pitch, you want to pitch them. And the whole subject was follow-up. And it was like, all right, if you really think that they're done with you, this is the last ditch email to send them. And so after we finished, and I was kind of the, webinar producer on those monthly webinars. After we finished that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this last ditch email and I'm just going to throw it out there one more time, because I knew she was interested.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that's the one that I heard back from. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Your email got lost. I thought I'd sent this to you already. Yes, I would love to set up a meeting with you. And I was like, okay. So we met, we clicked, we, signed all the papers to be officially represented by SBR Media.
Yeah.
And then she had a couple of, not many, but a few edits or suggested revisions for my manuscript. So I went through and made some of those changes. And then she just started shopping it around different publishers. I will say we had a little bit of a hard time because while my book is it's a rom-com, it's a romance story, it is swoony, not spicy. I'd put it like a PG-13 spice level.
Yeah.
And a lot of the publishers were saying, we really want a lot of spice. We really want some dark spice. And I'm like,
yeah,
that's not what this is. So we had a hard time at the beginning finding the right fit. And then we found City Owl Press, who's a small publisher out of New York, and they are fantastic. And so I had the meeting with them, and I'm telling my husband, I'm like, I don't know what this meeting means. I mean, I think I could know what it means, but I don't know if it means that necessarily. But if it does mean that, anyways, I was a ball of anxiety and nerves. And I sat down with them, and they were so wonderful and had such great things to say about my book. And I can't believe this is a debut novel, and this feels so, well thought out and well put together, and everybody on our team loved it. And I just felt like, oh, these are going to be great advocates for this story. So I signed on with City Owl. And then, of course, just the waiting begins because it's such a slow process to publication. It's like, you're so excited. And then a year later, you're like, my book is on the way, but publishing is slow. So that's how I got from having a manuscript to having, the published novel, was really following the steps of this program that really took a lot of the guesswork out of it. Even when I got the contract back from my publisher, they have a whole section in the course about, here's what's expected in your contract. Here's what these terms mean. Here's what you can expect. And that was so helpful for me. So I really recommend this program. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But that was a game changer for me.
Yeah. And that's amazing. I mean, in terms of, if you look back at that process, is there anything that you would do differently, or do you feel that you did everything that, I mean, the outcome is amazing, right? You've got a publishing deal, you've got a literary agent. Is there anything that you would have done differently, or do you think you would exactly follow the same way that you've done it?
That's a good question. I think I would have followed the same path that I took, because it worked out really well. Something that was really helpful for me that I kind of hopped into later in the game is, she says in there, while you're querying this book, you just can't get your heart broken every time somebody rejects it, Yeah. And that's a normal part of this business, is the rejection. So she suggests jumping into a new, exciting writing project.
Okay.
And after I waited a couple of months and I felt every single email back as just, oh, but then a few months into it, I did start writing a new project. I got a great idea and I was so excited about it.
Yeah.
And then the rejections, I don't know, it was like, oh, you're rejecting that book? That's old news. I'm onto this thing now and this is exciting and I don't even mind. So I wish I would have started writing a new project immediately after I finished this one and
Yeah.
started querying it. I wish I would have jumped right into a new one because that really does decrease the pain of rejection when you're
Yeah.
lost in a new creative project.
That's so true, actually. They say when you're busy and your mind's occupied, you don't think about the things that you've already put into play.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, when you're so fixated, like you said, if you hadn't started that new writing project and you were just fixated on hearing back, you get so obsessed with it. It's like refresh, refresh, refresh.
Yes.
And that's all you
Yes.
can think about. And almost in a way, you need to let go of it so it doesn't consume you. And then things just play out the way they're supposed to. And for you, I mean, I think that's a great way to approach that challenge in itself.
I think you're exactly right. And it's hard because this is a thing that you've poured your heart and soul into and you love it. But then also you have to kind of just throw it behind you like it's old news and yesterday's garbage and move on to the next thing. And if you can manage to do that, really the rejections just kind of bounce right off you. And then when you do find some interest in it, then it's just like, oh, this is great. Yeah, that's right. I did write a great book, 4 months ago, and I'm excited to talk to you about it.
Exactly. And I was going to ask you actually around, how do you overcome some of those other challenges with being an author in terms of like putting your work out there? Do you read reviews? What are some of the other challenges that you may have faced and how do you overcome those?
That's a good question because it can be an emotional roller coaster. And I felt so much joy and gratitude and excitement. My book came out in August, but in May, so like 2 months prior, I signed another 2-book deal with my publisher for the next 2 books in the series. And I was so excited. And, I'm on cloud 9 and all of my dreams are coming true. And I think maybe it's just the nature of humans, but it's incredible how quickly that fades. And you go from walking around your house singing like a Disney princess to feeling like, oh, but this other author has got a 3-book deal and mine's a 2-book deal. Or, oh, she's got 10,000 followers on Instagram and I don't even have 1,000. So the comparison can be brutal and it can really suck the joy out of your own personal experience.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit tricky because I am trying to watch other authors and see what they're doing. And a lot of them become my author friends. So you're celebrating their successes and you're sharing their cover reveals and all those fun things. And so it's a very tricky balance between being aware of what else is going on around you. There's a lot about the publishing industry I didn't know, I didn't understand. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can from people, and everybody's been so generous with their knowledge and so helpful. But you have to balance that with not comparing like, oh, this is her debut novel and, it's a instant bestseller and mine's not. And is it because she has a better publisher or she has a better agent, or is her story way better than mine and mine's terrible? You can do these emotional swings that are not fun, fun.
And I think we live in a world, because technology now, we compare ourselves so much more because it's visible, isn't it? It's just you can see, and people share so much now that I do think it's hard, and you almost have to stop and pause and be like, okay, I'm not there yet, or I have a different spin on what I'm doing. But yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing I always hear. Comparison and an imposter syndrome as well. It's like,
yes. And the only kind of antidote or remedy I found for that is just writing. I do a 2-hour writing session in the morning and a 2-hour writing session in the afternoon. And when I've got those in my day and I'm lost in my own stories and my own creative process, then I feel excited and fulfilled and happy and grateful for the opportunity. If I'm scrapping my writing time to just scroll Instagram, then I feel miserable and neglected and imposter syndrome and all of the terrible things that go with this. So really my antidote is just write, stay in your creative process, get that excited feeling again.
Yeah, because that's what you love at the end of the day. And that's what you want to be, isn't it?
Yes.
What about your inspiration? I mean, you've been to Europe a few times,
Yes.
correct? And would you
Yes.
say that's where most of your inspiration comes from, or how do you craft these stories?
Okay. That is a good question because I will tell you, Lisa, Better Than Gelato is 99% true and based on my real experience, living as a nanny in Milan, falling in love for the first time, traveling and meeting great friends and going out dancing every Wednesday night. And the only reason I didn't publish it as memoir is
Mhm.
because I did not want to own up to the stupid things I did when I was 20 years old. And I don't think anybody should be held responsible for the bad ideas we made as young adults. But the story for Better Than Gelato is very much inspired by my personal experience living in Milan, being a nanny for this precocious young Italian child,
Yeah.
and then all the experiences that unfolded that year. But falling in love for the first time knocked me right on my butt. I did not see it coming and was trying to resist. And anyways, I got swept up all in it and spent just an absolutely magical year living in Italy. It was one of those things where even as you're living it, you're like, this can't be true. Like, this is amazing. This should be a movie. And so then it's kind of been simmering in the back of my head for a couple of decades. Like, oh, I'd really like to write that story down. It's got all
Mhm.
of the fun romantic elements, a fish out of water in Italy, learning the language and the culture and romance and getting swept away and travel. And of course, really delicious food, which is my personal love language. It was definitely a story that I thought had some great elements to put together there.
Yeah, amazing. And what about your new one that's coming out? Is that similar? Like, is it a sequel or
Okay.
is it independent?
So here's what happened with that. My publisher said, "Hey, would you consider writing a sequel to Better Than Gelato?" And it was just a standalone book for me because
Yeah.
I had lived that experience. It was really wonderful. I wrote it in a book and then I'm ready to move on. But then the more I thought about it, this particular family in Italy, who is so wonderful, they actually got a new nanny every year. So I
Wow.
was the seventh nanny
Oh,
that their family
wow.
had had. And they all came from my same college.
Yep.
Like just the Italian department, like my Italian professor was like, "Hey, if anybody's interested, here's a number to call." And I was like, "Yes, me." So they got a new nanny every single year. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, oh, that would be a really fun way to do a sequel. So
Mm,
the second book in the Ciao Bella series is Bigger Than Versace. And while the first one very closely follows my experience as a nanny, this one was so fun because it was 100% fiction and was
yeah.
100% made up. So we have a new main character, a new nanny, a new love interest, new dreams that she's chasing and obstacles that she's overcoming. But we have the same setting of Milan and the
Yeah.
same hilarious 7-year-old child and kind of the same friend group. So we get to
Yeah.
see how some of those other relationships and side characters have progressed. So I had a really great time with that.
Did you have to go back for inspiration? Were you able to do that, or did you just kind of create it from previous experiences?
I went back to Italy 2 years ago. We did not go to Milan, but I went back with my 4 kiddos and
Oh,
like
lovely.
exploring this country that had just stolen my heart since I was a teenager with my
Yeah.
4 favorite people was amazing and wonderful. And my kids are the sweetest. They're my biggest fans and
Oh.
they are hyping my book to like the lady at the Cadoba restaurant and anybody they see. So it was really fun to take them to Italy and also just be back there and remember like, yes, this is the most romantic country in the world. Like
Yeah.
the language is beautiful. The people are beautiful. The scenery and monuments are
Yeah.
beautiful. It's very inspiring to be back there. We traveled sometime through Italy and then we actually spent a month in France and they had this little upstairs bedroom and that's where I actually finished writing the draft for the Bigger Than Versace. So it was
Amazing.
it was fun having just had that very fresh in my head.
Yeah. And how do you come up with the characters? Are they people that you have met previously, or you have like a set image in your head? Like, how do you come up with those characters and even the names that you call them?
Okay, so the many of the characters are based on my real friends. So in all of the characters are people that I know and love,
Hmm.
and I changed their names. The only person whose name I didn't change is Isabella, the little girl. That's her actual real name. I changed the last name of the family, and per my publisher's request, I needed to reach out to her before book one was ever published and let her know that this book was being published and that she was part of the story, let her know before publication to avoid any liability issues. So I'm still Facebook friends with her, and that was funny. And she was very excited and hoping that they get it translated into Italian so she can read it. The more awkward one was the love interest in the original story. In the story, I give this couple a very wonderful, happy ending because that is absolutely what they and the readers deserve. In real life, I will say that the man I fell in love with in Italy, once we came home from Italy and we were at colleges on different ends of the country, and we broke up.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen or heard or talked to him in 20 years.
Wow.
And I had to send him a message.
Oh, no.
And I would put this like in my top most embarrassing moment of the last decade was the message I had to type to this person and say, hey, I know it's been a while. Remember when we dated for that year? Like, it's not like I think about it a lot. I definitely didn't write a whole romance novel about it. And if I did, I definitely didn't change the ending so that we end up together because that would be crazy. But actually, I did do all those things and it is getting published. Just thought you should know. Bye.
Yeah. Did he come back to you?
Yes. Okay. So first I've got to say, my husband, who's been a fantastic sport about me writing a novel about my ex-boyfriend, he's been a really great sport about it. He thinks this is hilarious. He was cackling with glee as I was trying to type out this message, like, what do I even write to this person? And I didn't have his contact information. We didn't have any social media. We were friends on Goodreads.
Okay, yeah.
Which I didn't even know was a thing. But then I was like, oh, okay. So I sent him a message there and I was just checking the box. I was just telling my publisher, yep, I sent that message. I never thought that he would see the message. I really hoped that he wouldn't see the message. And then a couple months later, he did see the message and he responded. But then I didn't see that for a couple months because who's checking their Goodreads messages, you know? So I finally did see his message and it was very kind. And it was just a short message that said, wow, congratulations. That's very exciting. Best of luck. And then the next day he wrote me another message and that was a long one. And that had a lot of things that was very interesting. I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a scene in Better Than Gelato where our pair reunites. And the things that this person was telling me in this message, like I think about the way we ended things and I wish I could have done things differently. The things he was sending me in this message were like word for word what I had written down in the book to have his character say to our sweet Juliet character. And it was uncanny. So I called my husband up at work and I'm like, honey, you're never going to believe who messaged us back. And of course, I read him the whole message like we're in the 8th grade again, right? I read him the whole message and I was like, this is just like the scene I wrote in my book. And he's like, wow, you really nailed that character. I was like, I think I did. Thank you. Yes. So that was an interesting detour I hadn't expected. I really could have done without that, but in the end, it's a funny story.
I wonder if he's read it and is like, oh, wow.
I hope he hasn't, because I'm going to say I overshared. If I was writing that book again, I wouldn't, I don't know. I would have.
Has your husband read it? That is the question.
Okay, so my husband started to read it. And I think maybe he made it to like chapter 3 or 4. And then he was just like, I just can't read about you making out with some other guy. I just can't. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. And my mother-in-law has read it.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And she's great because she like hypes it up. She's a Facebook person. So she's telling all of her friends. And I had said something about, like it's not spicy. And she was like, I thought it was plenty spicy. Okay. I think maybe when it's the perspective of your daughter-in-law smooching somebody who's not your son, it probably feels a little. But I mean, it's a sweet closed door rom-com so that you can lend it to your neighbor and you don't have to be like, don't read chapter 13 or we'll never be able to make eye contact again. You know, like you can give it to your mother-in-law, you can give it to your niece, and it's just a fun book to pass around.
Oh, I love that. And what a great story as well. I mean, if you'd never gone to Italy and never have met him, you wouldn't have the story, right? So
exactly right. Yes, that's exactly right.
You've got to appreciate those moments and the awkward moments of today as well.
Yes. So So most of the characters in the books are based on real people. Lydia St. Clair in the second book, Bigger Than Versace, is a brand new, fully fictional character. And
Yeah.
she was so fun to write because in the first one, we have this sweet Juliet who's just so amazed by everything in Italy and so dazzled to be there and so excited. And Lydia is furious. She's
Oh.
a spoiled rich girl. She's been sent there as a nanny as punishment for getting kicked out of her second university. And all she wants to do is get home. And so it was very fun to write a meaner character. So
Yeah.
she's very snarky. She's a lot more manipulative and diabolical and masterminding things. And that was a really fun character to write.
Yeah, I was going to say, what would you say is the highlight of being an author? What do you love about it?
It's interesting because it's such a solitary activity. You know, it's just something you're doing on your own. You're not in a cubicle with other people. Even like with filmmaking, there's so much collaboration that goes on there. And writing is so solitary. But when you can create these characters that feel like friends, you come out of a writing session feeling like you just spent 2 hours hanging out with friends, and you just kind of create your own company with the people you make up in your mind. And that is really fun to me. I think a big highlight of being an author is just creating these fun characters. Like if you catch me writing, I'm usually giggling and I'm like, oh, he doesn't know, but I'm going to do this thing and he's going to hate it. And I think that's really the fun part for me, creating these fun characters and then seeing, oh, what are they going to get up to? How can I make their life terrible? Ooh, how can I make their life wonderful? And taking them on a journey.
Yeah. And how do you break down your writing? So like with your structure, because obviously you've got a family and work and you're becoming busier now as an author as well. How do you break that down in terms of like, when do you find the time to write? Are you quite structured in the days that you do it, or do you just let it flow when the creativity's there? You'll jump on your laptop and start letting those words flow onto it.
No, I'm a very boring schedule person. I love schedules. They help me make sure that I'm getting the things I want to do done and that like other people and their priorities aren't like taking all of my time away. So I have a schedule and I stick by every day. And there's a great quote from Stephen King. I think I have it here on my board. The muse knows where I'm going to be every day from 9 to noon.
Yeah.
I think if you wait for creativity to strike, you could be waiting a while. But if you just show up every day, then I think that you get into a creative process. So I wake up at 7:00 and I do an hour of writing. I used to do a 2-hour writing block in the morning and then a 2-hour writing block in the afternoon. And what I noticed over the last 2 years, I've really been spending more time writing, which is wonderful. But then also I was not getting any exercise. I was just becoming like a lumpy couch person and I didn't feel my best. So it was a big sacrifice for me. But just a few months ago, I started, instead of writing from 7 to 9, I write from 7 to 8, and then I swim laps from 8 to 9. So I get an hour of exercise. And I'll tell you what, that is some of my most productive writing time because I get in a meditative state and I'm just thinking all of these ideas and it feels like you're underwater. Things are very quiet. Like the goggles make everything seem, I don't know, something. I get my best ideas in the pool. So I write for an hour, I swim laps and I do a lot of brainstorming. And then my 4 kiddos, they do school at home. We do school from 9:00 to 12:30. And then we do lunch and, people do their family contributions. And then I head upstairs from 2 to 4 to this room right here where the magic happens. And all of my kids know 2 to 4 is mom's writing time and nobody interrupts her. Like, unless there's blood, you don't go in that room. And at first I thought it would be really hard that like, I can't just take a block right in the middle of the afternoon. Because before, when they were littler, it was like everything had to be after bedtime. But they've gotten to a stage where I can just say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And they don't bother me. So then I get an afternoon writing time from 2 to 4 and then, come down. And I'm usually, when I come down, I'm talking to them about all the ideas that I'm doing and we make dinner and stuff. But those are my writing chunks.
Yeah, that's great. And is there anything that you would share or say to, someone who has been writing and, maybe is struggling at the moment, not getting the responses that they want, and they're trying to kind of get their book out there and published? Is there anything that you would share to give them that encouragement to keep going?
First, I would just say I've been there, right? You are not alone. You are not
Mm.
alone. There are a lot of people who have been where you are. And the fact that you wrote and completed a novel is
Mm.
incredible because I read a statistic recently that was 97% of people who start novels don't finish them. So
Wow,
if you
that's
are one of
huge.
that 3%, that
Yeah.
is incredible. And that is, worthy of celebration right there. I would also say, don't ever give up on that dream. If this is what your heart wants, go
Mm.
after it. And it will be discouraging and frustrating, but I really believe that, you can get there. There's a quote from Elizabeth Gilbert. She's got a great book called Big Magic, and it talks all about creative living. And when I feel discouraged, I give that book a reread because it's very inspiring to me. And one of the things she talks about is, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Like,
Yeah.
what dream would you have? What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And she kind of turns that idea on its head and says, what would you do if you knew that you would fail, that you would
Mm.
get rejected over and over again, but you love it so much you would do it anyways? And for me, that's writing. Like, I know
Yeah.
I'm going to get rejected. Like, I know that people are going to read my book and be like, I didn't like this. I wish it took place somewhere else, or that character was
Yeah.
annoying. I know that, but I love it anyways. So I'm just going to keep doing it. And that would be my advice to people who are feeling discouraged with rejections they're receiving, or with the difficulty of the journey to get to publication, is keep writing and believe in yourself. And there will
Mm.
come a time when you will be somebody's favorite author. There will come a time when people will line
Yeah.
up to get their books for you. But that time isn't right now. And
Yeah.
right now, you have to be your biggest fan. Right now,
Yeah.
you have to be the one that is so excited and passionate and all in on this dream.
I love how she puts that spin on it, because I think that's a testament whether you are in it for you or in it for I wouldn't say the fame, but for just everybody else, right? You've got to love it in order to keep going. And
Yeah.
honestly, like, I've spoken to so many authors now, and that is the biggest thing they share with me, is that they never gave up. Like, they love writing, that they would do it tomorrow, even if they didn't get published. They just kept putting their work out there, and they kept upskilling themselves, and they kept connecting with other authors, and just really immersing themselves into that world, that eventually they got that publishing deal. And so I
Yeah.
think if you have a passion and a love for it, that's going to show through, but you've got to do it for yourself at the end of the day, because,
Yes.
like I said, no one's going to be that big supporter. You're going to have your friends and your family, of course, but maybe not what you see as the kind of the goalpost of acceptance and having
Yeah.
people follow you and love your work.
You'll get your moment. It just might not be right now.
Yeah.
And a writer friend said the people who become authors are the ones who don't quit trying to be authors,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And there's some very bad books out there. Like, let's just be honest. There are some
Yeah.
books that I read. I was like, this is not a good book.
Yeah.
And I always felt that very encouraging. I always felt very
Yeah.
encouraged by that, because it's like, well, here's a person who just didn't give up, who just
Yeah.
kept going after it and going after it. Like you said, just keep sticking with it, and you will get there.
Yeah, that's so true. So your book, Bigger Than Versace, is out on the 16th of June.
Yes.
And I can see you're going to Barnes & Noble. So you got a book signing there?
Yes. Barnes and Nobles is doing a big launch party, and we're so excited. There's going to be treats. I've got these little cupcakes with these little fancy high heel shoe cupcake
So
toppers I'm very
cute.
excited about. We've got charm bracelets and prizes and stickers and games and raffles. It's going to be wild. We're very excited. And I asked the people there, I'm like, are you prepared for the chaos that we're going to unleash on this store? And they were like, bring it on. They were super good sports about it. So that will be really fun.
Those cupcakes look and sound amazing. So yeah,
I
I
think they'll
always
be
love when
great.
people have cupcakes at their launch and they put like the different figures on there, like depending on the style of their book. I think that's like a trend that needs to keep happening.
I agree. I'm also trying to wear very crazy fashion outfits.
Yes, love that.
Because the high fashion scene in Milan is a little bit wild.
I know. Have you got your outfit picked for your book launch?
I will tell you, I've been trying to find the perfect dress for a while. I thought I found the perfect dress. I ordered this dress. It was, slim, fitted, tons of ruffles on the bottom. I'm like, this is wild and sophisticated, and I love it. And then it arrived, and it's probably the ugliest dress that I've ever owned. It is terrible. So I'm on the hunt again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But and I don't have a lot of time, but I'm going
no,
to see if
you
I can
don't.
find
God, we're like, yeah, you don't have a
something.
lot of
I
time
know.
at all.
I wanted to tell you, there was a
Yeah,
funny story about the title of this book, Bigger Than
yeah,
Versace. I was really set on that title because it takes place in Milan, and our girl Lydia kind of worms her way into working for one of the fashion houses as an intern. So it's high fashion runway shows. It's very fun. And I really was set on this title. My publisher was concerned. They didn't want any lawsuits from
yeah.
Versace. And they kept asking, like, could you think of a different title? And I was like, all the other ones I come up with are dumb. This is the one I really want. And they said, okay, well, reach out to Versace. We may not ever hear back from. Could you think of some other titles in the meantime? So I'm like, I've got a bunch of sisters. I'm on the phone with them trying to get their ideas. I'm like quizzing my husband. What about sharper than stilettos or stronger than espresso? I'm coming up with all these ideas. None of them I like as much. And then Versace gets back to us, and it was such an unexpected reply. What they said was, we'd like to read the book.
Oh,
And I was like,
wow.
oh, okay. My editor hadn't even seen it yet. So I had done, and they're like, do you have a manuscript that's ready for Versace? I'm like, I think so. I had done all my revisions. It was in good shape. And we sent it off to Versace. And then a short amount of time later, just a couple weeks, we heard from them, and they must have liked it because they said, yes, you can use our name in your title.
Amazing.
And that's how
when
I
you
got
should have
Bigger Than
gone,
Versace.
do you want to give me a launch outfit?
I know. And I really felt like the outfit that she designs in chapter 14, Versace, you can go ahead and use that in your next runway show. We'll call it
Yeah.
a thank you from me
Yes.
for giving me permission to use your name. And I know my sisters were like, man, you should be doing a collaboration with Versace. I was like, that would be awesome. It doesn't seem that great for them to promote a book called Bigger Than Versace. I should have really changed the title to Versace is the coolest. Nothing's better than Versace. And I might have got like a little more collaboration from them. At the end, I'm just excited they let me use their name.
But hey, look, when it gets turned into or adapted into a movie or a TV series,
then that's when we talk about a red carpet dress.
Fashion house. There you
go. Yes. Unfortunately, I did look at what one of those might cost me, and then I immediately closed my computer.
Yes.
That is not in an author budget. I'm not wearing the Versace dresses, but maybe for the movie premiere.
Exactly. That's you've got some amazing stories in there, which I think the listeners are going to find quite funny as well.
It's been a wild ride.
It's what makes you and your books, right? So I think it's so fascinating, the journey and the story behind the books and the author, hence why I do this. And yeah, I've loved hearing it today. So where can people find you, Libby? Where's the best place for them to go and read about you, go and find your books?
Okay, well, I do have a website, LibbyTannerAuthor.com, and I've put a lot of stuff in there, a lot of behind the scenes things, pictures of me in the 3rd grade with glasses and braces. Like, we've got some fun things on the website. I'm hanging out on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm not great at it, but I am on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. The thing that I've really enjoyed so much about this is I started a weekly newsletter called Letters from Libby. And it's actually not about writing at all or the books that I'm coming out with. It's really about identifying and chasing your dreams.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that I've become very passionate about. And I know a lot of women, they kind of hit middle age and they realize they've spent their whole life taking care of other people, coworkers or kids or partners. And then they're ready to find out what brings them joy and then to go after it. So Letters from Libby is a weekly newsletter just full of motivational stories and easy takeaways to help people get on the path to chasing their dreams. So that's something that they can sign up for on my website or send me a message on Instagram or Facebook and I'll send you the link. But those have been really fun. And the response from people has been really neat. I love hearing people's responses saying like, oh yes, I was in the same boat, or I really relate to that, or how do you manage this? It's been really neat connecting with people who are also trying to chase that dream, whether it's starting a Spice Girls tribute band or like opening a new restaurant. I love seeing especially women go after their dreams and be successful.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and I'm wishing you all the best with your book launch and Bigger Than Versace, and keep posting on Instagram so I can see what's happening with you. And I can't wait to share your story with everybody.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's been an absolute delight to hang out with you.